Most people are aging faster than they need to, not because of genetics, not because of bad luck, but because their blood vessels and cells are never given adequate time to repair themselves. My name is Dr. Lauren Hayes, and today I want to share with you a simple daily rhythm that has the power to switch your body's longevity systems back on. There are four silent forces quietly accelerating the aging process in most people: persistently elevated insulin, chronic low-grade inflammation, oxidative stress accumulating in tissues, and a progressively slowed immune response. These forces operate beneath the surface, long before a wrinkle appears or a diagnosis arrives. But here is what makes this genuinely exciting. When you begin correcting those root-level problems, the body responds with something extraordinary. It starts repairing itself. Allow Dr. Lauren Hayes to make this concrete with an analogy. Picture your body as a high-performance hybrid engine. It has the capacity to run on multiple fuel sources, but it performs at its best when it can transition smoothly and efficiently between them. The problem is that modern eating patterns trap that engine in a single wasteful operating mode all day long: sugar burning, inflammation boosting, and repair blocking. Longevity-focused nutrition restores the ability to flip that metabolic switch back and forth, keeping the entire system cleaner, more flexible, and far more resilient over time. What research continues to demonstrate across multiple fields and multiple decades is that certain everyday foods, nothing exotic, nothing overpriced, send remarkably powerful instructions directly to your cells. Those signals can activate longevity genes, reinforce immune defenses, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce the biological wear and tear that underlies heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and cognitive decline. And here is what surprises most people: these foods are rarely what anyone expects. This is not about loading up on protein shakes, filling your pantry with health bars, or grazing continuously throughout the day. In fact, some of the most powerful longevity-promoting foods work precisely because they create short, beneficial forms of cellular stress, the kind that builds you up rather than breaking you down. In this video, Dr. Lauren Hayes is going to unpack 6 science-backed insights inspired by Nobel Prize-winning discoveries and modern metabolic research. You will learn what to eat each day, why timing can matter just as much as the food itself, and how to activate your body's natural longevity programs without medications or extreme dietary protocols. If this kind of root cause, science-first health education is valuable to you, consider subscribing. Dr. Lauren Hayes shares content like this daily to help you take genuine, lasting control of your long-term health. For decades, the conventional message was that living longer meant eating perfectly nutritious foods more frequently, keeping blood sugar in a constant narrow range throughout the day, and eliminating anything that placed stress on the body. But Nobel Prize-winning research revealed something that upends that entire framework. Your cells do not get younger when life is effortless. They get younger when they are challenged in precisely the right way. Dr. Lauren Hayes illustrates this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body as a functioning city. Every day, waste accumulates: damaged proteins, worn-out mitochondria, broken cellular components. If the maintenance crews stop running, the city does not collapse overnight. But block by block, slowly and invisibly, everything begins to clog. Inflammation rises, systems slow, breakdown becomes increasingly inevitable. Biological aging follows exactly the same pattern. The built-in cellular cleanup system responsible for clearing that accumulated damage is called autophagy. In 2016, Dr. Yoshinori Osumi received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for revealing the precise mechanisms through which this process operates. Research consistently identifies autophagy as one of the most powerful anti-aging mechanisms available to the human body. It recycles damaged cellular components, improves metabolic efficiency, and appears to offer meaningful protection against cancer risk, neurodegeneration, and immune system decline. Autophagy becomes meaningfully active when insulin levels drop, during overnight fasting windows, or when meals are spaced with genuine intention rather than constant grazing. This does not require starvation. It requires strategic gaps. The long-lived population studied in Okinawa and Sardinia did not snack continuously throughout the day. They ate simple, satisfying meals, consistently stopped before reaching full capacity, and allowed their bodies extended overnight breaks, without ever using the word autophagy. They were activating it every single day. Here is a practical protocol from Dr. Lauren Hayes that you can begin immediately. Start with a 12 to 14 hour overnight fasting window. Dinner at 7 in the evening, breakfast at 9 in the morning. That single adjustment alone can begin supporting meaningful cellular cleanup. To connect this directly to longevity, autophagy does not merely clean individual cells. It supports mitochondrial efficiency, meaning your cells can generate more energy while producing less oxidative damage in the process. That improvement translates into sharper cognitive focus, stronger muscles, healthier-looking skin, and measurably slower biological aging. This is the physiological explanation behind why many people experience noticeably clearer thinking and more stable energy once they stop eating continuously throughout the day. It is not a mystery. It is metabolism operating as it was designed to. Think of insulin as a storage signal. Its fundamental role is to move nutrients out of the bloodstream and deliver them into tissues, muscle, liver, and fat. That function is essential for survival. But here's what the research keeps pointing toward with remarkable consistency. Chronically elevated insulin is one of the most reliable accelerants of biological aging available to us. Here is the underlying mechanism. When insulin remains elevated throughout the day as a result of frequent meals, refined carbohydrates, or habitual snacking, your cells are locked in a perpetual state of growth and storage. Growth mode sounds inherently positive, but biologically it carries a significant metabolic cost. It actively suppresses cellular repair, amplifies systemic inflammation, and increases oxidative stress throughout the body. Over time, that sustained pattern contributes to insulin resistance, visceral fat accumulation, hormonal dysregulation, and accelerated cellular aging. This is precisely why two people can consume identical caloric intakes and age at dramatically different rates. Longevity is not solely determined by how much you eat. It is substantially shaped by how frequently you trigger an insulin response. Nobel Prize-recognized research into aging pathways, including insulin signaling and nutrient-sensing networks such as mTOR and AMPK, reveals a consistent pattern across multiple biological models, from yeast and worms to mice and accumulating human evidence. Lower, well-timed insulin exposure is associated with extended lifespan. Dr. Lauren Hayes simplifies the mechanism this way. mTOR is your build and grow pathway. AMPK is your repair and recycle pathway. Insulin powerfully activates mTOR. And when mTOR is chronically switched on, AMPK never receives adequate space to perform its function. When cellular repair is perpetually deferred, aging accelerates. The widespread misunderstanding is that solving this problem requires obsessing over caloric intake or eliminating dietary fat. But the real lever is not deprivation. The real lever is carbohydrate timing and food quality. Here is a practical protocol Dr. Lauren Hayes recommends beginning immediately. Always consume carbohydrates after protein and fiber, never in isolation. This sequencing slows glucose absorption and significantly softens the insulin response. Compress your eating into 2 to 3 complete meals rather than 6 or 7 smaller eating events, because every eating occasion is an insulin occasion. Choose carbohydrates that arrive naturally packaged with polyphenols and fiber, berries, legumes, lentils, intact whole grains, because they blunt the insulin response while simultaneously nourishing your gut microbiome. And take a 10 to 15-minute walk after meals. That single post-meal habit has been shown to reduce post-meal glucose levels by up to 30% without any gym equipment required. Lower insulin does not only protect your metabolic health, it protects your blood vessels, preserves cognitive function, and shields your immune system. Insulin resistance damages the endothelial lining of blood vessels, increases clotting risk, and accelerates cognitive decline. That is one of the mechanisms linking type 2 diabetes to elevated Alzheimer's risk, a connection sometimes described clinically as type 3 diabetes. But here is the empowering dimension of this picture. Insulin sensitivity is reversible. Within weeks of improving meal timing, reducing ultra-processed food intake, and incorporating post-meal movement, insulin signaling can meaningfully improve. Energy stabilizes, cravings diminish, fat loss becomes easier without relying on willpower as the primary mechanism. Here is what is really happening inside your body when certain plant compounds behave like medicine, and why this represents one of the most overlooked longevity mechanisms in modern nutritional science. Dr. Lauren Hayes illustrates it this way. Imagine your cells as a household. Over time, waste accumulates. Damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, broken cellular components. If that waste is not cleared consistently, the household deteriorates at an accelerated rate. In biology, the process responsible for that cellular housekeeping is autophagy, and it is one of the strongest predictors of healthy, extended aging. Here is the surprising discovery that most people have never encountered. You do not need extreme fasting protocols or intense physical training to meaningfully support autophagy. Research suggests that specific plant compounds called polyphenols can activate many of the same cellular repair pathways, a finding connected to Nobel Prize-winning work on autophagy and cellular recycling. Some of the most potent sources identified in longevity research include extra virgin olive oil, green tea, dark berries, high flavonol cocoa, coffee, cruciferous vegetables, legumes, and lentils. Notice something important about that list. None of these foods are extreme. None require exotic sourcing, none demand punishment, restriction, or suffering. Longevity, as Dr. Lauren Hayes consistently emphasizes, is not about deprivation. It is about biological signaling. A critically important clarification. When people hear the term plant compounds, they frequently think of fruit juices, blended smoothies, or packaged health products. But when fiber is removed from the equation, the majority of the benefit disappears with it. Fiber slows absorption, nourishes beneficial gut bacteria, and enables polyphenols to reach the colon where they are transformed into substantially more powerful metabolic compounds. Here is what is genuinely fascinating about this process. Your gut microbiome does not simply digest food. It manufactures longevity-promoting compounds from the polyphenols you consume. Those microbially produced metabolites can reduce systemic inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and protect DNA from oxidative damage at the cellular level. This means that if your gut microbiome is compromised, even an otherwise excellent diet will not deliver its full protective benefit. A simple, realistic protocol from Dr. Lauren Hayes. Aim for 30 or more different plant foods per week. Not per day, per week. Variety produces greater benefit than volume. Add at least one polyphenol-rich food to every single meal. A drizzle of olive oil, a handful of berries, fresh herbs, aromatic spices. Small additions generate large cellular signals. Avoid ultra-processed foods marketed as plant-based. If the product arrives in packaging with an extensive ingredient list, it is not supporting your microbiome. Eat slowly and chew thoroughly. Digestion begins in the mouth, and inadequate chewing leads to impaired nutrient signaling downstream. The foundational takeaway: longevity foods do not directly add years to your life. They remove the friction that accelerates aging, inflammation, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, and impaired cellular repair. This is precisely why the longest-lived populations on Earth do not obsess over macronutrient ratios. They eat simply, consistently, and in ways that support cellular cleanup every single day. Here is what is really happening inside your body when it comes to how often you eat, and why this dimension of nutrition may matter even more than the specific foods you choose. Most people assume that longevity is primarily a function of consuming superfoods, but the research keeps redirecting attention towards something more fundamental and more powerful: metabolic rhythms. Dr. Lauren Hayes explains this with a city analogy. Think of your metabolism as a functioning city. During daylight hours, traffic flows, deliveries are made, energy is consumed and distributed. But at night, the city requires quiet hours, dedicated time for repairs, cleanup operations, and infrastructure maintenance. If traffic never stops, the city degrades faster than it can repair itself. Your body operates under the same biological logic. When eating occurs continuously, snacks, late dinners, habitual grazing, insulin remains chronically elevated. And when insulin is high, the body cannot efficiently access stored fat, cannot repair itself at the cellular level, and cannot enter the genuine cellular maintenance state that longevity research consistently identifies as critical. What the science identifies as essential for extended healthy lifespan is daily periods of low insulin, not starvation, not extreme protocols, simply structured, predictable breaks from eating. This is precisely why time-restricted eating repeatedly demonstrates measurable benefits for blood sugar regulation, inflammatory marker reduction, mitochondrial health improvement, and favorable shifts in gene expression patterns associated with aging. Even Nobel Prize-level aging science suggests that cells require intervals without nutritional input in order to activate their repair programs. That activation simply cannot occur during states of continuous feeding, even when every food consumed is genuinely nutritious. Here is a simple, sustainable protocol aligned with the longevity research that Dr. Lauren Hayes recommends. Complete your last meal at minimum 3 hours before sleep. That single shift can meaningfully improve both insulin sensitivity and sleep quality. Aim for a 12 to 14-hour overnight eating break, maintaining consistency rather than pursuing extremes. Eat your largest, most nutrient-dense meals earlier in the day when insulin sensitivity is naturally highest. Keep evening meals lighter and protein-forward. Heavy carbohydrate consumption late at night can interfere with melatonin secretion and growth hormone release, both critical to overnight cellular repair. When insulin drops during these structured intervals, the body shifts toward fat utilization. But the more significant biological story runs deeper than fat burning. Growth hormone levels rise, inflammatory markers decline, autophagy, cellular self-cleaning, activates. That is the internal biological environment in which the rate of aging measurably slows. And here's the point that consistently surprises people. You do not need to eat less overall to live longer. You need to eat with temporal intelligence. Many of the world's longest-lived populations do not subsist on minimal portions. They consume satisfying, nourishing meals, but they stop eating earlier, eat socially and with intention, and allow their bodies a reliable daily period of metabolic rest. Dr. Lauren Hayes explains the protein and longevity relationship with a clear conceptual framework. Think of protein as construction material. You require it to build and maintain muscle tissue, enzymes, hormones, and immune cells. But if the construction crews operate continuously around the clock, the city never enters repair mode. Maintenance is perpetually deferred. That is precisely how protein can behave inside the aging body. Protein consumption activates a growth pathway called mTOR. mTOR is essential. Without adequate activation, you lose muscle mass, bone density, and physiological resilience. But when mTOR is stimulated continuously, without periodic interruption, biological aging accelerates. Here is what is actually occurring in most people over 40 or 50. They have fallen into one of two opposing extremes. Either they are consuming too little protein and progressively losing muscle, a dangerous trajectory toward frailty and dependency, or they are distributing protein across 5, 6, or 7 eating occasions throughout the day and never allowing the repair pathways to activate. Both represent significant problems for longevity. Research suggests that protein timing carries comparable importance to total protein quantity. Longevity-focused work connected to Nobel Prize-recognized discoveries on cellular repair points consistently toward a key principle: alternate growth periods with repair periods. Protein should be pulsed rather than delivered as a constant stream. Here is the practical application from Dr. Lauren Hayes. Rather than distributing protein intake across 5 or 6 eating occasions, consolidate into 2 solid protein-containing meals, ideally positioned earlier in the day. This accomplishes 3 important things simultaneously. It stimulates muscle protein synthesis efficiently, it prevents non-stop mTOR activation, and it creates the metabolic space between meals during which autophagy, cellular cleanup, can meaningfully occur. The contrast is instructive. Someone consuming a protein bar mid-morning, chicken at lunch, nuts in the afternoon, yogurt in the evening, and a late-night snack never provides their cells with a genuine break from stimulation. Insulin remains elevated. mTOR stays activated. Repair remains suppressed. Compare that to someone consuming a protein-rich late breakfast and a balanced early dinner, then ceasing all eating. The caloric intake may be identical. The biological outcomes are dramatically different. Food quality introduces another dimension. Not all protein sources send equivalent longevity signals. Plant-forward proteins, fatty fish, fermented foods, and collagen-rich sources tend to activate growth pathways more gently than ultra-processed protein supplements or continuous red meat consumption. This does not mean animal protein should be avoided. It means it should be used strategically and with timing awareness. A longevity-aligned protein protocol from Dr. Lauren Hayes looks like this. Prioritize protein consumption earlier in the day. Target 25 to 40 grams per primary meal, adjusting for individual body size. Eliminate late-night protein snacking. Incorporate plant-based protein days throughout the week. This combination preserves muscle mass while honoring the cellular repair cycles that genuine longevity depends upon. The insight most people miss: you do not slow aging by permanently suppressing growth. You slow aging by cycling intelligently between growth and repair. That rhythm, build, then clean, is what maintains tissues in a biologically younger state. Dr. Lauren Hayes introduces this section with an analogy that reframes how most people think about aging. Picture your body as a city. Your organs are the neighborhoods. Your cells are the individual homes within them. But your blood vessels, they are the roads. And when the roads develop cracks, accumulate blockages, or begin to collapse, it does not matter how well maintained the neighborhoods are. Nothing in the city functions properly for long. Here is what is really happening at the biological level. Most people conceptualize aging as something that begins at the surface, wrinkles appearing, hair turning gray, muscles gradually weakening. But biologically, the aging process accelerates most significantly when the inner lining of the blood vessels, a structure called the endothelium, loses its functional integrity. This extraordinarily thin lining governs blood flow regulation, oxygen and nutrient delivery to every tissue in the body, inflammatory signaling, and immune surveillance throughout the vascular system. The insight that appears consistently in longevity research is both simple and profound. You are only as biologically young as your blood vessels are functionally healthy. The longest-lived populations studied in blue zone regions did not achieve their exceptional lifespans primarily through caloric restriction. They ate consistently in ways that protected and actively supported endothelial function. And this is where the counterintuitive dimension emerges. Longevity is not constructed from protein supplements, multivitamin regimens, or exotic botanical extracts. It is constructed from polyphenols, plant-derived compounds that function as dedicated maintenance personnel for the vascular system. Dr. Lauren Hayes visualizes the mechanism this way. Imagine the inner surface of your blood vessel lining as a smooth, non-stick surface. When that surface maintains its integrity, blood flows effortlessly through it. When it becomes damaged by oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, or insulin resistance, inflammatory compounds adhere to it, cholesterol oxidizes, and arterial plaque begins to form. Polyphenols help preserve and restore that smooth, functional surface. They enhance the production of nitric oxide to improve blood flow. They reduce oxidative stress in vessel walls. They calm immune overactivation. And they improve insulin sensitivity, all of which directly impacts longevity because compromised blood flow accelerates cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, kidney deterioration, fatigue, and the persistent brain fog that so many people mistake for inevitable aging. Some of the most powerful polyphenol-rich foods associated with vascular longevity are also among the most accessible. Green tea, dark berries, extra virgin olive oil, high flavonol cocoa, cruciferous vegetables, and fermented plant foods. These do not function merely as antioxidant sources. They send active signals that switch on protective gene expression pathways and stress-resilient systems, the same biological systems that fasting and exercise activate. Food, when chosen with intention, can genuinely mimic longevity signals. There is an additional mechanism that Dr. Lauren Hayes emphasizes and that most people overlook entirely: the communication pathway connecting gut health to vascular health. Polyphenols nourish beneficial gut bacteria, and those bacteria in turn produce short-chain fatty acids that circulate through the bloodstream and measurably reduce systemic inflammation. The gut and the blood vessels are in constant biochemical dialogue. A practical longevity-aligned framework from Dr. Lauren Hayes operates on addition rather than subtraction. Begin by adding one polyphenol-rich food daily. Use extra virgin olive oil as your primary dietary fat. Consume unsweetened green tea or coffee earlier in the day. Pursue plant diversity, different colors, different polyphenol profiles, different biological signals. Consistency is what keeps blood vessels flexible, responsive, and functionally young, not perfection. Consistency. One more critical point. Many people consume genuinely nutritious foods, but simultaneously maintain blood sugar instability, late-night eating patterns, and chronic psychological stress, and then find that the expected health benefits fail to materialize. That is because longevity foods deliver their full protective effect only when paired with stable blood glucose, adequate restorative sleep, and regular physical movement. The approach must be systemic. Think biological synergy, not isolated health hacks. Here is what is really happening inside your cells, and why eating less frequently, not merely eating better, may represent one of the most powerful longevity tools ever scientifically documented. Dr. Lauren Hayes presents this through an analogy that makes the mechanism immediately tangible. Imagine your body as a large, continuously operating manufacturing facility. The machines run without interruption. Production never pauses. There is essentially no scheduled maintenance time. Initially, output appears normal, but over time, components wear down faster than they can be addressed, errors accumulate, and systemic breakdown becomes increasingly inevitable. That is precisely what chronic, continuous eating does to the body at the cellular level. Every eating event elevates insulin. Insulin is not a harmful molecule. It is essential for life, but it is fundamentally a growth signal. Growth signals instruct cells to build, divide, and store energy. That is highly appropriate when you are young and in active development. But chronically sustained growth signaling is one of the primary mechanisms through which aging accelerates. Longevity science points towards something that initially strikes most people as counterintuitive. Aging slows when growth signals periodically deactivate. This is the foundational insight behind Nobel Prize-recognized research on autophagy and cellular recycling, the research that permanently shifted how scientists understand the biology of extended lifespan. Autophagy is the body's internal housekeeping mechanism. It is the process through which cells remove damaged proteins, recycle dysfunctional mitochondria, clear inflammatory cellular debris, and restore overall metabolic efficiency. But autophagy cannot fully activate while insulin remains elevated. When eating occurs from morning until night, even when every food choice is genuinely nutritious, cells rarely receive the conditions required to perform that essential maintenance work. Research demonstrates that structured fasting windows, even relatively short ones, improve cellular resilience, metabolic flexibility, and biological markers of longevity. Dr. Lauren Hayes is careful to emphasize that this is not about starvation. Longevity-oriented fasting is fundamentally about timing and structure, not deprivation. A consistent 12 to 14-hour overnight fast can already produce measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity and mitochondrial function. Extending the fasting window towards 16 hours may deepen autophagy activation, particularly in the liver and vascular system, both critical to overall metabolic health. The liver functions as the body's metabolic control center, regulating blood glucose, clearing hormones and metabolic byproducts, and governing inflammatory and fat metabolism. When the liver never receives a functional break from continuous nutritional processing, metabolic strain accumulates and aging accelerates. A practical, sustainable protocol aligned with longevity research from Dr. Lauren Hayes. Complete your last meal at minimum 3 hours before sleep. During the fasting window, consume water, herbal tea, or black coffee if well tolerated. Break your fast with protein, healthy fats, and fiber, not sugar or refined carbohydrates. Eliminate late-night snacking even when caloric amounts are modest, because the timing itself disrupts the repair processes that occur during sleep regardless of caloric content. That single behavioral shift can produce meaningful improvements in sleep quality, morning energy levels, and overall metabolic health. Here is where the picture becomes particularly powerful. Fasting and polyphenol-rich foods activate overlapping longevity pathways simultaneously. Both stimulate AMPK. Both support sirtuin-related systems linked to DNA repair and cellular stress resistance. When you combine a consistent daily fasting window, abundant polyphenol-rich foods, and stable blood glucose management, you are stacking multiple longevity signals in a complementary and synergistic manner, without pharmaceutical intervention and without extreme dietary protocols. If everything Dr. Lauren Hayes has shared in this video resonates with you, if you are beginning to see that aging is not simply something that happens to you, but something that is substantially shaped by the daily signals you send your cells, then consider this your starting point. The biology of longevity is not complicated at its core. Your cells need periods of repair, not just growth. Your blood vessels need consistent protection, not just occasional attention. Your gut microbiome needs diversity and fiber, not just convenient processed nutrition. And your insulin levels need strategic management through timing and food quality, not perpetual elevation through continuous eating. None of this requires perfection. None of it demands suffering or extreme restriction. What it requires is consistency, small, intelligent, daily choices that stack longevity signals in your favor, day after day, year after year. Dr. Lauren Hayes invites you to take one insight from this video and apply it tomorrow. Whether that is extending your overnight fasting window by 1 hour, adding one polyphenol-rich food to your next meal, or taking a brief walk after dinner. Start where you are. The biology will respond. If this content added genuine value to your understanding, please subscribe for daily evidence-based health education and share this with someone whose longevity matters to you.